Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special interview on Taiwan Insider. I'm sitting here with my brother Vincent. Now, my brother Vincent has had a very long career in baseball. He's worked with the Los Angeles Dodgers organization for about 10 years, taking care of Taiwanese baseball players there of the likes of Hong Chi-kuo, Jin Feng Cheng, and Qin Long Hu. He actually got me into the local baseball scene as well. I haven't seen these in a while, huh?
Yeah.
Most recently, however, he goes by the moniker Uncle Vincent, which is the name of his blog, which has about 3 million hits, in which he talks about the Chinese Professional Baseball League, and he commentates every so often on the NBA or the MLB. Now, thanks for doing this, Vincent.
No problem.
Because right now, we're asking you to take this interview because the CPPL is big news right now. International headlines. It's the only professional baseball league in any place in the world that's actually operating under safe conditions. What does this mean just for Taiwan's exposure internationally, not just as a country, but maybe sports-wise, professional sports-wise?
I think for professional sports-wise, it's a great opportunity for CPPL to promote themselves, right? We think about professional baseball around the world. We know there's MLB, we know there's a league in Japan, we know there's a league in Korea, and of course there's a league here in Taiwan, even though we call it the Chinese Professional Baseball League, but we should all know it's in Taiwan, not in China.
That's right.
Right. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to know, hey, what are these guys doing? How are they playing baseball in Taiwan? For people to learn about Taiwan and the baseball that's being played right now, right here.
So what would you say that the league needs to do to really take advantage of this situation? Because everything's at a standstill right now with the rest of the world. Taiwan's the only one playing baseball. What needs to happen for this to really be taken advantage to its fullest?
I think English broadcasting is the first step, and we all know, Taiwan did it very well, right? They're broadcasting games right now, albeit through Twitter, but they have actual game feeds, and then they have English broadcast commentators. People from around the world, they're catching on, right? They realize that, hey, there's actually live organized professional baseball being played in this small island called Taiwan. And I think we all know people in the States, people in Japan, in Korea, in all of these places, baseball fans are catching on and are watching these games. So from the Twitter hits, millions and millions of hits for the 11 Sports Network, it tells us that, hey, people actually do care about these Taiwanese players.
ESPN anchor Keith Olbermann, he shared a video of him being up in the middle of the night watching Taiwanese baseball. But in my mind, I couldn't help but think, like, he doesn't really know any of these players. He's not even following it. Is it just a sports mentality here? Like, how much familiarity do people really need to be incentivized to watch baseball?
Well, let me stop you right there because I think I say kids like you, right? You're 17 years younger than me. Probably don't understand how big Keith Olbermann is for sports fans, right? Back in the day when there's no internet, well, barely internet, when there's no Twitter, no Facebook, when we all had to sit in front of TV, wait for ESPN Sports Center to come on, Keith Olbermann was the guy. It was Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick, and then they would tell us what happened throughout the day in the world of sports. So for him to pick up baseball in Taiwan and through his personal Twitter, this is big time for Taiwan. For people like us, we understand how big this is, and for him to pay attention to Taiwan and actually have an active interest into it, telling everybody how wonderful this baseball game is being played in Taiwan. This is big time for Taiwan.
He got into a Twitter conversation with President Tsai of Taiwan over what's happening in baseball here. I mean, for someone that big to have a dialogue with a country's leader, at this point, it's not even baseball, it's almost diplomacy.
Pretty much. I think he mentioned, right, he went to, was it Cornell?
Yeah, Cornell.
Cornell, right, with President Tsai around the same time. I think there was some translation mistake by the Taiwanese media thinking that, he was claiming he was a classmate of Tsai.
Oh, okay.
And they were saying that, hey, you're trying to, I don't know, how do you say it in English, 趁热度, like you're trying to
ride the coattails?
Right, you're trying to ride the coattails of the president. But I think at the end of the day, President Tsai, she responded and she said, hey, why, remember to join us and watch the next game. I think it's a great exposure for Taiwan, and it also a great exposure for President Tsai. She is down to earth enough, right, to care about baseball, to care about this celebrity broadcaster in the States is saying about our sports.
One of the highlights that Keith Olbermann saw was a bench clearing brawl between the Rakuten Monkeys and what was the other team?
The Fubon Guardians.
Yeah. Now, my question is, was that just for dramatic effect? Do these players know that they're being watched and it's like, hey, we got to put on a good show? Because in my memory, I don't really see a lot of brawls in the CPPL, whereas, there's always seems to be some guy charging the mound on SportsCenter on ESPN back in the States.
Right. So for everybody else, Leslie Liao is a conspiracy theorist in our family, right? So he thinks when there's a bench clearing brawl and the whole world is watching our baseball, this has got to be a show.
I mean, the timing is too good. The timing is too good.
All joking aside, I want to say these Taiwanese baseball players, they take the game very seriously because for them, this is not a reduced season. This is not a condensed season. They're playing the full season, and there is a Taiwan series, a championship series at the end of the year. So they are playing for the team's success, for their own honor. Now, what happened that day in that game, the bench clearing brawl? It was a 3-game series between the Monkeys and the Guardians. And for people who don't know, the Guardians manager, he's a new manager this year. And last year, he was the manager for the Rakuten Monkeys. So he switched teams. So there's incentive for him to prove to his previous team that, hey, you know what? I'm better now. I'm better than you. I'm going to beat you, right? And just so happened, it's a 3-game series, and he lost the first 2 games. So there's extra incentive for him to really go out there and prove. And his players understand that. They have the ace pitcher pitching, Sosa pitching for them.
Let's move on to another point. You said the CPBL has had very, very good ratings, especially on Twitter. I believe the number is somewhere around 1 million views a game. Is that beyond, or is that expected, or is that what we expected, or is that below expectation? How's the performance of this so far?
Well, before this year, there had never been CPPL games being broadcasted on Twitter in English. This is a revolutionary thing. So there's really nothing to compare to. And also, they're providing this service for free on Twitter. Everybody can click into it and watch it. So it's really hard for you to substantiate how many people are actually watching this thing. And yes, there are clicks. There are people online. I think for one game it went up to as high as 1.2 million, I believe. And then they've done 5-6 games now so far. I think it's better than expected, and it's better than before because before this it was nothing. So it is a great start for the league. It's a great start for all the teams that are involved, and I think they're doing a wonderful job.
Okay. So for these people watching Taiwanese baseball for the first time, say overseas, what would you say the biggest difference they might recognize or might notice while watching a Taiwanese baseball game is? Never mind the fact that there's no audience here, but what is something that makes Taiwanese baseball distinctly Taiwanese?
I think right now everybody would understand that, hey, you're not watching a Major League Baseball game, right? I mean, of course, the very best players playing the Major League, right? And right now, of course, this is not it. So you're coming in expecting an all-star performance from these Major League. You're not going to find it. But what you're going to see is an honest effort, right? And you're going to see the exact same amount of competitiveness, right? They're fighting for their victory. They're trying to perform. They're trying to beat their opponents. That's just the same across the board. That's just baseball, right? But for Taiwan, I think right now it's an empty stadium. There are no fans. They're watching the game. But for these creative teams, they have come up with mannequin robots. Even cut out printout boards of fans. Actually, fans can submit their photos to the team. With the fee, they'll print it out. They'll print your picture on it and print it out and just put it on the seat. And what they say is they'll leave it there until fans are allowed back into the stadium. So every game, you will be there with cheering on, in photo form, cheering your player on. So these are the creativities. And also for some of the American fans, you would see that even if it's an empty stadium, cheerleaders will be there. They'll be dancing, they'll be singing, they'll cheer these players on. This is something that's very, this is something you don't see in American baseball game. There's no cheerleaders. And you know what? maybe they should, bring about cheerleaders.
So you're saying the MLB could learn a little something from the CPPL?
Hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
Why not? What's the harm in it?
Happens in basketball anyway.
Hey, NFL, right? You go into NBA, you go into a football game. Hey, cheerleaders are there, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the game. Why not baseball?
So we already mentioned that there's not going to be an audience, and there's obviously no box office, no ticket revenue. The CPPL, they're not going to be making any money. Operating a season like this, I can only imagine that it's adding to their costs. So what is their incentive to really go on with the season in the absence of money, actually, and in fact incurring even more costs by doing so? Because they're obviously not going to make money, right? Syndication rights, are they going to be making any money back on that?
Well, here, for cynical people like you and me,
Okay.
right, we always say, when you say it's not about the money, it's always about the money,
Yeah.
right? But this is really a case of it's not about the money, because going in, when they decide that they're going to play on, even after 2 delays, when they're going to play on with the full season, all teams, 4 teams in the league, in the major league right now, and there's a 5th one in the minor league waiting for their chances. But all these teams know, with no fans in the stands, they're going to lose money big time, right? Because you not only are you looking at tickets, you're looking at merchandise, you're looking at concessions, a lot of these things. The teams are not going to make money this year at all. But they decided to go on. Why? Because there's something more than money. It's letting us know that, hey, life goes on, right? I think these teams decided that, hey, you know what? With these global pandemic, we're going to go out there and show people that, hey, you know what? We're doing fine. We can play baseball here, and you can too. You stay with social distance, you stay with wearing a face mask, you take care of your personal hygiene, you wash your hands often, you can do this too. And we're going to look back at this and say, hey, you know what? We did our part, and we're playing games, we're doing great, and look at us right now.
So speaking about setting an example for the rest of the world, there's a movement going on right now to rename Taiwan's national air carrier, China Airlines, to Taiwan Airlines, because they're worried that whenever there's, media exposure of China Airlines, you see the big airplane, people will think that's from China. What are the odds that the CPPL, still with that Chinese name on it, what are the odds that we can change it to TPBL, Taiwanese Professional Baseball League?
I think the chance is 0.
Okay.
At least in the near future, it's 0, because a lot of things will have to happen before we change the Chinese Professional Baseball League to Taiwan League, or however you want to name it.
You call me cynical, man.
Yeah, hey, a lot of things will have to happen, right? You think the league is a private business and it's easy for them to change the names, but you have to understand that the league is formed by 5 teams, and these 5 teams are major businesses in Taiwan. Fubon is a financial institution, and China Trust, the same way. Unit President, same way. Rakuten is a big-time international company, and then you have the Weiquan Dingxin Group is a big company too. So they all have to sit down and decide, hey, do we want to change this name? And you and I can argue until our faces are red. In this island, in Taiwan, there are people who look at Chinese Taipei and cringe. There are people who look at Taiwan, thinking about Taiwan independence, and just run out of the door crying. Mm-hmm. So you and I can do a show for 2 hours, and we're still not going to reach an agreement. Yeah. For a private business like CPPL, or even for China Airlines, who is kind of government-owned or kind of private, however you want to name it, a lot of things would have to happen before they could seriously consider changing the name. And there are a lot more we can do in the meantime to tell everybody that, hey, we're Taiwan, we're not China, like Chinese Professional Baseball League, right? We can say, hey, the name is Chinese Professional Baseball League, but hey, we're playing in Taiwan. Look it up. Taiwan is this little island, but it's Taiwan.
So you're saying in the grand scheme of things, a name change like that wouldn't be as effective as maybe just getting the message out there?
If you want to be really cynical, you can say, hey, even if we call ourselves Taiwan, people would still confuse us with Thailand.
Okay.
And that happens, right? So you want to be confused with China, or do you want to be confused with Thailand, which neither is Taiwan.
Okay.
Right? So we might as well do a lot more to promote the name of Taiwan, right? To tell people about what Taiwanese are doing. And I think that's what, going back to the English broadcast, that's what these English commentators are doing, right? They're telling everybody tuning into these games that, hey, you know what? Welcome to Chinese Professional Baseball League. We're playing in Taiwan. This is our team. This is our league. This is our country. I think that's the best we can do. It makes more sense than arguing about changing these names.
Okay. You mentioned English broadcasting, which is very interesting because it's a big change that came to the league this year. And
Right.
did this come about because of the need for more of an international audience with the pandemic? Or is this something that has always been in the works?
I think there was never in the works. Let's just get it out there. There was never in the work by the league. Okay, as far as I know, right? The league decided to push the season back twice, and then they decided they're going to play a full season. Great. One of the broadcasters, 11 Sports Network, they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to broadcast these games, and since we're the only league playing this game, we're going to put it on Twitter. We're going to have some people do it in English. So it's going to be broadcasted in Mandarin Chinese and in English at the same time. And let's see how it goes. So they took it upon themselves and say, you know what, we're going to promote this game. We're going to do our part to tell the rest of the world that, hey, you know what, life goes on in Taiwan. And if you're interested, if you want to watch a competitive, a professional, structured baseball game, a baseball league, hey, tune in. And we all see what's going on right now. And from what I heard, the league has finally decided that, hey, you know what, maybe we want to get in on this, and they're trying to find their own voice talent to do English broadcasting.
So this was actually spearheaded by a sports network and not the league itself.
Yeah, it's from a sports network, 11 Sports Network. So I think the commentating team, Wayne McNeil and Richard Wong, they're doing a wonderful job broadcasting these games, and they're a kind of a celebrity now among international baseball fans.
$2 million was pledged by the Taoyuan city government to help improve English broadcasting in baseball. Now, what incentive does a city have to offer up that kind of money to make sure that English broadcasting continues to happen?
Sure, let's break it down a little bit. Taoyuan, the city of Taoyuan, they have their own team, Taoyuan, the Rakuten Monkeys, right? The Taoyuan government decided, hey, you know what? Here's 2 million NT we're going to give to the Rakuten Monkeys, who are our team. And you know what? Spend this money to do the game in English. Now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some stipulation in how the team would use this money. I think the commentators are going to be asked to talk about the city of Taoyuan a little bit more, promote the city of Taoyuan, tell people what to do in Taoyuan, what the city is all about. I think it's only natural, right?
It's like a sponsorship.
It's like pretty much like a sponsorship. Like you and I both know, right? People fly into Taoyuan and then they go to Taipei.
Yeah.
They go to New Taipei, right? I think for a long time, I think maybe the people in Taoyuan feel kind of slighted, right? So I think the mayor is doing his part to say, hey, you know what? Since we have this unique opportunity when the whole world is watching, and also Taoyuan, they have right now the best team in the league, right? They're undefeated. So you know what? The whole world is watching this game. The whole world is looking at our team. So you know what? Let's have the commentators talk about our city. Okay. I think it's a very wise investment. I think.
Okay. Now we're talking about all the great things that Taiwan is doing and this opportunity that's been given to us. However, Korea's baseball league is about to start on May 1st. Now, in my understanding, the ranking goes Major League Baseball, Japan, the Nippon Baseball, Korea, and then Taiwan. What's at stake here? Is this window closing on us now that Korea is about to reinitiate their baseball season?
Okay, so I think the ranking that you just said, the US, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, if you go by the number of teams, that's the correct order, right? The US has the most team, and Taiwan has only right now 5. That's fine. Right, Korea, the league is more structured. The league has more team, and of course, the ownership over there in Korea, they have more resources right now. They're more willing to spend on the team and on everything, the infrastructure and everything that comes with the team. That's only natural. We all understand that fans in Taiwan accept that. But I think Taiwan has such a head start right now. Fans in the US, they're kind of used to waking up in the morning and tune in to watch CPPL games. Of course, there's going to be competition when the Korea game comes on. That's great. I think it's a healthy competition, and it's also going to kind of push or nudge the CPPL a little bit to say, hey, you know what? Maybe you should do a little bit more. Maybe you should improve your English website. Maybe you should provide more stats for your players, proper translation in English for your players.
Are these things happening right now? What that you're saying?
No, before the beginning of the season, I know the league's English webpage has been sitting there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years without being updated or updated, sporadically. Mm. I think ever since these English broadcasts being picked up by the fans, we're seeing this increase of interest into the league. They finally started to update the English pages. I think last week they finally started it. Right now, it's really at its bare minimum. You have introduction of the team, and you have some sort of stats and some sort of player translation, but it's really not enough. It's not enough. Okay, and the league could do a lot more than that.
Last question for you before we leave. What are the odds that someone in America is going to be talking about Taiwanese baseball in about 2 years' time?
I think in 2 years' time, let's just say in 2 years' time we're back to normal, or we're back to 80-90% normal, and the whole sports world, we'll be watching Major League Baseball. I think some of the American fans are going to remember that, hey, during the peak of this global pandemic, there was this league in Taiwan. They continue on because their government did a good job. They continue on. They show us that, hey, even in the midst of this global pandemic, there's still a sense of normalcy for us, that we actually tune in. Remember in the mornings we tune in and watch these Taiwanese guys playing this crazy baseball game? Remember that? Wasn't that fun? I mean,
that's like us watching the World Series here.
Absolutely, absolutely, right? When World Series go, remember that 18-hour game the Dodgers and the Red Sox played?
Yeah.
Right, it's the same thing. We remember that. And a lot of baseball fans here, they only watch Chinese Professional Baseball League. And they watch playoff baseball, U.S. playoff baseball only during World Series. So they will remember that. And the same thing, vice versa. In the States, they'll remember a few years ago, they watched these Taiwanese players play on Twitter. And they were all excited about it because at the time, that was the only baseball game anywhere in the world. I think it plays very well for Taiwan.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I was speaking today with my brother Vincent, who is also known as Uncle Vincent in Taiwan. He runs a blog. We'll have the link for you down to that below. It does have 3 million hits. However, it is written in Chinese. He's worked extensively with the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, and he's actually acted as a translator for a lot of Taiwanese players who went to the major leagues, which is great because I'm related to that. Anyway, thanks for doing this, Vincent.
Yeah, man.
I'll see you probably tomorrow or something.
Okay, I'll see you.
Thank you.